Welcome back, everybody, to WWTA News. Welcome back. So, is there much going on in the news? Technically, there is. Not much going on with the crypto side. So, it's going to be a general discussion. I want to talk about a few different things. Yet, we're not going to be throwing up news articles. So, just prepare yourself. It's just a general discussion today. All right. So, it's really not much going on. We got different things going on in the news here in the States and in other countries, but that's really not even that great. One of the major things out there in the headlines is this whole issue with Binance being told that they can no longer have BUSD, which is supposed to be backed up by United States dollars. Everybody's making a whole fit about that, and I don't understand why. And so I'll just give my reasoning why I don't think it's a big deal. And I say this: each country is responsible for their own currency. So if another country, and it's not that it's another country, it's a business in another country, that might have ties to the country. Who knows? That's between government to government. That's really not our concern. But whatever the case may be, so this company Binance is supposedly backing their BUSD up. Binance, United States dollar. Binance is the United States dollar. Like, there's the issue right there. There is no way that the United States is going to let somebody else, control or dictate the United States dollars, even though each nation and country trades in the dollar, right? So it's like there is no way the United States is going to let that fly. If you're going to be dealing in dollars, you're going to have ties. You're going to be under some type of regulation and scrutiny by the United States because it's theirs. It's no different than if there was, let's say T yuan, right? Like if let's say a circle, let's say circle said, okay, well we're going to have C yuan, right? So then you're like, oh, what do you mean? And you mean you're not going to be speaking for the yuan? Like, what are you doing in the United States? Like, you're not going to do that. So that's why I don't think it's too much of a big deal. I do think that all nations are about to go back to themselves. So when you hear stable coins and you hear central bank digital coins, this is the preparation for it. A long time ago, when I first saw USDC pop, I said to myself, "That's strange." I know Tether is out there, and it was the other one, Dow something. And I was like, "Yeah," but those are stable coins, right? And then I thought to myself, well, what's the chances of, the United States allowing somebody to produce a USDC, like United States dollar coin? Like, who's going to speak for the United States? Like, that's theirs. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that, and I still think that to this very day, that USDC is really like that's going to be the central bank digital currency if even though it's a stable coin. But I think the reason why they're getting everybody off their dollars because they're going to do that. They might be doing that now. I can't be for sure, but I speculate when they're burning dollars, are they burning dollars and converting it into the digital USDC that we know is a stable coin? And is that possibly going to be the actual central bank digital coin? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so when I hear the whole situation about Binance, I'm like, it only makes sense. All nations are going to do stuff like this. Get up off my money. That's mine. I control it and I regulate it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you out there trying to back your currency up off my currency. Like, what are you doing? You need to back your currency up off your currency. You're over there in that house. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of what I think is going on with that. Right. So, anyways, something else I wanted to talk about. I'm just sharing thoughts and ideas. So, I talk to different people here and there, and of course, my mind is geared to finance, money making, retirement, and everything like that. So, usually, those are the general conversations I have with people that are, around my age or under my age, but not too far under my age. I like to have this conversation with youngins around their early 20s. They're still babies, and it's good to get them while they're still babies because they're running around making money and don't know what to do with it. So, I kind of want to have these conversations with them, because they're just they're little babies. They need to while they're full of energy, prepare themselves for when they're not going to be babies and they're in their 30s and 40s. And it's like, man, I wish somebody would have told me I should have been doing X, Y, and Z so I'd be prepared when I become 40 and I don't have all that energy I had when I was a young pup. You know what I'm saying? Like bouncing around off the walls. The sky's the limit, not afraid of the world. Like I can take on the world. That's when you're young. And then you get older, you all know, for the older crowd, you all know, and then as you get older, you're like, you start losing all that passion and energy, and then you're tired, worn out, you know what I'm saying? And so I love to be able to get these youngins when they're young and explain these things to them so that they can start preparing today, even though they don't see the value or importance. If I could teach it to them today, then in their future when they're 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, hopefully not 50. That's a little too late in the game. It is, honestly. But you can still do it. It's going to be a heck of a fight, but you really want to have your stuff together. And I wish somebody would have told me, but you really want to have your self together by the time you're like 30, 35, so you can be like, I'm done. I'm in the 40-40 club, and it's like, man, I'm still trying to get it done now, but I'm rushing to get it done. So, anyway, some of the discussions is that I find from people in their 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, is they're not concerned about retirement, or they're not concerned about their future. They're raising families, going on trips, buying things, just living life with no worry about what comes after their children grow up and they want to, maybe not be working, because you don't want to be 50, 50 and 60 years of age and working. You don't want to be there. And so general thoughts on that. Some of the things that I'm learning that I wasn't told when I was coming up. I was told about 401ks and jobs, right? I was told about bank CDs, banks, which is straight garbage. General basic dumb stuff is what I was taught. But a 401k, if you ask enough questions, you'll learn that you can be the reckless investor that has opportunity to make big bucks in your 401k, which basically means that the plan that you're in is making big bucks and you're getting X amount of that in return, even though they're probably getting exponential amount more. Irrelevant. That's just the name of the game. That's how it goes. Now in 2023, you can invest yourself. And these are the things that most people don't talk about or know about. For instance, I'm learning more and more about whole life insurance. I had actually been involved with companies that dealt in life insurance, refinancing mortgages, consolidating loans. So I learned a lot about finance in those stages of my life. And so I start learning better handling and controlling of money. So I'm very appreciative for the group of people that imparted this knowledge on me. Very thankful. And so when you when you think about these things, like if you don't fall in the right spot, you'll never learn about this stuff. And this is where the conversations come from. So, like whole life insurance is something that honestly kind of acts like a 401k to a degree. You know what I'm saying? You're going to sign a contract for X amount of years and you're going to pay in the contract monthly X amount, and depending on how it's set up, you're going to make money on that duration of the contract, and you can borrow off that money to do things that you might need to do. You can't do that with a normal life insurance policy. You get a life insurance policy, and this is what I learned in dealing with finance, mortgages, refinance, and all this stuff, is when you're young and early, and some of you might have been taught this, when you're young, a young family man, and you got a family, wife, kids, a home, you want to have a high premium, because if you die, all that stuff is taken care of and paid for, and the kids can still go to college. That's what I was taught. And so that's some of the things that we're taught. And then as you get older, you can depreciate the amount of insurance you need, because 9 times out of 10, you probably paid the house or sold the house and gotten something smaller. So you don't need that high amount of insurance. And then, things change. So your policy, you change your policy. But at the same token, the whole time you're carrying that policy, you're feeding an investor in a sense. They're investing that money and making buku money off it. That's how they can pay these premiums or pay these policies if something happens to you, because that money's being invested. And these are the things that are not discussed and taught to us. We're just taught the simple basic stuff like do this, follow this, and da 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 da, and that's live, pay taxes, and die. And so as you learn more and you listen to people at times, sometimes those people you think are crazy might have a lot of great information for you. So in these conversations, I find myself having to bring up stuff like whole life insurance policies. I'm even talking about stocks. Like most people don't know that there's apps for you to purchase stocks yourself. Most people don't know that in those apps you can research, basic research the company, and then from that you can use that device in your hand, that smart computer in your hand. Most people don't know this now. They know all about social media, but they don't know about their future and investments. But you can take that same supercomputer in your pocket, in your hand, that you use to look at social media, and you can research companies. Now, check this out. For a lot of people that might not be doing this, if this is new information to you, well, take it. You can take your Cash App. You can get on your Cash App, and then because you've already got your bank account tied to it or a debit card, you can go learn about stocks within that app and actually start purchasing shares. You can do that now. Okay, so if you're in your 30s and you're like, man, I've got a little 401k, and the bare minimum goes in it because you don't ask any questions about it. It might be like a 4% going into it, or 2%, or a 3%, or a 5%, who knows? But it's not enough to make you a real retirement, you know what I'm saying? So most people that are aware of it, they'll increase that because they know it's before taxes. This is a whole nother conversation. But so most people do the basics and don't pay attention to anything else. So you can use Cash App alongside your 401k, even alongside a whole life insurance policy. There's so many more things you can do with that in itself too. Whole nother conversation. We'll get to that later. But so you can use your Cash App and start researching, because you can do it on your phone. You can look up some of these stocks. You don't have to go find the big name stocks that are excessively expensive. And you can start seeing if they produce dividends or they pay out dividends. You can see what the value is. And then you can get online, same device, and research the company more. Research the CEO, head of the companies, and different people working in the company. And research that stuff and determine whether or not you want to slowly move money on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to pick up shares. Because when you're picking up shares for a company, you're not doing this for 2 or 3 days. You're doing this for years. You got to set yourself something like a 5-year plan. And we're taught this to most of us. When you start learning finance, you're taught to start looking 5 and 10 years in the future and plan 5 to 10 years at a time. I don't know if any of you know this stuff, but if this is new information to you, absorb it. So you might say today, let me think about myself in 5 years. Let me think about my wife and kids in 5 years. Where do I think we'll be? Where should we be, right? Where would I like to be? And then you'll say, okay, based on 5 years, maybe I'd like to have $25,000 to $50,000 nest egg set, right? And then you'll say, well, how do I get to there in 5 years? So then you start asking questions. You might do some changes in your 401k. You might look more into the whole life insurance policy and the different riders and things that can go on that policy to help generate more income for that next 5 year. You might look at investing into shares of stocks. And then you might say, well, if I start cutting back on some of the outing and fun spending here, maybe in the next 5 years I can have that $50,000. And so that's the 5 and 10-year planning that really nobody teaches us. And these are the conversations I end up having with people. And I'm just sharing this information with you all. So these are some of the things that we probably should be thinking about. And so, especially when we start talking about the whole life insurance policies, then we'll start moving into stuff that I'm trying to learn more about now, i.e. trust, family trust, so on and so forth, and how to continually grow generation to generation. And that is amazing. I'm still learning about it. I have a little bit of information, but the gist that I get from it, which I hope will lead you all to investigate more yourselves, but the gist that I get from the trust and the whole life policies is, and even a life insurance policy is no different, but under the trust you have benefactors, and so the people that you want to benefit, you can actually have policies put on them, family members and probably business partners or whatever, and you can have the trust pay for that, and then have all the payouts sent back into the trust, which can then be dispersed to the benefactors. And so when you have to start asking the question about trust. I can't sit here and I can give you basic information, but I'm not any type of expert or that knowledgeable about it. I've got a lot of questions and I'm still researching it myself. But these are some of the things that we should be thinking about. Maybe if I want generational wealth, then I want to have these whole life policies if my kids are young set on them today. And then I probably want that to feed back into a family trust so then it can be dispersed. But I want to have trustees that are going to be responsible and make decisions for the trust as a whole. This is just my basic understanding. And so, because I want the trustees to have the responsibility of making sure that the benefactors receive and at what point they do receive, then I want those policies to pay for everybody that's a rider, that when they pass away, if they pass, well, everybody eventually is going to pass away. But so, let's say for children, your children are young, they're 8, 9, 10 years old, and let's say 20 years down the road, you want them to have access to $50,000. And how you would do that would simply be through the whole life policies that you'd start today. And you would have that feeding back into the trust so that when let's say your child is now 25 and they're married and their first kid's on the way and they want to buy a house, because buying a home is possibly going to make you money either way you look at it. So if you set those things up today, then by the time they're 25, they might have anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 possibly accessible to them. I'm not showing the specific details. These are things you want to investigate on your own. So you want to find an expert or someone highly knowledgeable in that field. But these are some of the basic ideas and understandings that I have that I try to impart to people to be thinking. So we're thinking 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years in advance. We're not living for today. I know here in the United States, we're taught YOLO, which means you only live once. And that is true to an extent. That deals in all beliefs and whatnot, but it's also selfish, arrogant, and ignorant, because in that mindset, you're not thinking about the possible lives you're going to bring into this world that you're honestly saying, I really don't care about. So if you're not planning for the future, you're just kind of being selfish with the concept of YOLO. I think it's really silly and we should just disregard it, but that's the mind of an immature person, I would only assume, because when you get older, you have responsibilities, children, so on and so forth. And I don't know, it's not YOLO, it's responsibility. So anyways, before I get long-winded, I just wanted to have this general conversation. There's not much going, there's many things going on in the world. But, for the finance side and everything else, we're in this new tax year. We've got to get ready to pay these taxes. But this year, if you haven't started, you need to start thinking about the future, looking 5, 10, 15, and 20 years into the future and starting to plan what you possibly want to be doing, where you want to be, and where you want your finances to be. So anyways, I'm going to conclude there. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining me for this episode.